Or it looked like Caitlin Clark has fired shots at Stephanie White and their offense, man. For this one here,
the basketball world just exploded. Caitlin Clark, the golden child of women's basketball, just delivered the most calculated takedown of a coaching system we've seen all season. And she did it without even mentioning Stephanie White's name. But trust me, everyone knew exactly who she was talking about.
The video. We got the GOAT, Caitlin Clark, sat down with one of the greatest in Sue Bird. They talk all things Caitlin Clark, her career, Iowa, the Indiana Fever. But Caitlin Clark, let it be known, she does not like this Stephanie White offense, how these players in the WNBA don't even know where to move or how to move or where to cut. And that leads to a lot of her turnovers. And she also states how much she misses Lisa Bluder.
What happened in Phoenix wasn't just another loss. It was the moment Clark's patience finally snapped, and when the smoke cleared, she left the entire Indiana Fever organization with a message they couldn't ignore. Picture this, Clark walking off that court in Phoenix, her team down by 30, watching opponents run actual basketball plays while her teammates looked like they were seeing the sport for the first time. The frustration was written all over her face. But instead of exploding in the locker room, she did something far more devastating. She sat down for an interview and calmly explained exactly why everything about Indiana's offense is broken, using her college days as the blueprint for how basketball...
When I first committed to Iowa, I said from day one that I wanted to take them to a Final Four, and a lot of people were just like, that would never happen. A lot of people that were really close to me, and a lot of people that I trusted, in my life, they never believed that I could help them achieve to where we ended up getting, other than really Coach Bluder. So I'm really thankful for her. And, obviously it evolved over the course of 4 years. It was certainly a process, and I had some really good teammates that were some really good players, and really just bought in and were some of my best friends. But
all should actually be played. This isn't your typical rookie complaining about playing time or touches. Clark is in year 2 now, no longer the wide-eyed college sensation trying to adjust to professional basketball. She's the franchise cornerstone, the player ESPN puts on graphics even when the Fever aren't playing, the reason fans pack arenas across the country. When someone with that kind of influence starts drawing comparisons between their current situation and their glory days, you better believe it's intentional. The Phoenix...
I also think, Coach Bluder, she really coached me. It wasn't like Caitlin just gets to do whatever she wants. I was held accountable more than anyone on the team by far.
Yeah, there was film sessions,
yeah,
right?
She would lay into me. It was tough, but
did she give you the green light? Did you take the green light?
I think I gave
did
myself the green light. And she never told me.
Mercury didn't just beat the Fever that night. They embarrassed them. 30 points isn't a bad shooting night or unlucky bounces. That's a systematic breakdown, the kind of loss that exposes every flaw in your foundation. While Phoenix ran crisp sets and moved the ball with purpose, Indiana looked like 5 strangers who'd never practiced together. And Clark watched it all unfold, knowing she'd have to answer questions about another disaster. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of giving the usual diplomatic responses about execution and effort, Clark went nuclear in the most professional way possible. She started talking about Iowa.
It was very similar. All out attack, we're known to have 5 shooters on the floor at all time. We played with really good floor spacing, and at Iowa it was the same way. 4 people were on the floor that could shoot at the same time. Then obviously we usually played with a true post, but they rarely missed too. Mon never missed. Hannah Stolke was tremendous when I was there too, and even our backup post players. I always think about how Coach Bluder ran practices and things, and I'm very fortunate looking back and now going to watch other colleges practice.
About Coach Lisa Bluder, about how college players somehow understood basketball concepts that professional athletes couldn't grasp. Every word was a dagger aimed directly at Indiana's entire offensive philosophy. How do people not know where to move? It blows my mind. Those 11 words just became the most expensive sentence in WNBA history. Because when your franchise player publicly questions whether professional athletes understand basic positioning, she's not just criticizing teammates. She's calling out the entire system that's supposed to teach them where to be. Think about what Clark was really saying. She's watched
practices and things like that. She really was so intentional about making sure everyone was on the same page and knew what they were doing and knew their role in a way. When I talk to people about it, I joke she brainwashed people, not actually, but
no,
you
part of it is a little bit of it.
even now at the professional level, I'm how do people not know like where to move? Like it blows my mind still. Like, but I think it just makes me like really appreciative of like what Coach Bluter was able to do when we were at Iowa. Like she was so smart. She was able to like construct a team and make sure everyone always knew what they were going to do, whether you were the smartest basketball.
College players, kids who are still learning the game, execute complex offensive sets with precision. Then she comes to the professional level and finds players standing around like mannequins, confused about fundamental basketball concepts. That's not a player problem. That's a coaching problem. That's a system problem. That's an organizational problem. Clark painted a picture of Iowa basketball that sounded like basketball paradise. 5 shooters on the floor, perfect spacing, everyone knowing their role instinctively. She talked about Bluter's brainwashing approach, how repetition created habits so strong that players reacted without thinking. Compare that to Indiana, where Clark spends half her energy just trying to get teammates to move to the right spots. The evidence has been building all season. Anyone who's watched Fever games knows exactly what Clark means. Possessions where she calls for cuts and players stand frozen.
I think that's even been something like me and Steph have like always talk about when we go and watch film, and even like that New York game where like I played really, really well. Obviously scored a lot of points. I think I had 9 assists or 10 assists that game.
Plays where she throws passes to spaces where cutters should be, only to watch the ball sail out of bounds because nobody moved. The turnover shows up on Clark's stat sheet, but the real fault lies with teammates who don't understand the system well enough to be where they're supposed to be. Indiana's so-called motion offense has become a cruel joke. Motion implies movement, but what we're seeing is 5 players standing around the three-point line watching Clark dribble herself into desperation heaves from the parking lot. That's not basketball. That's street ball with a shot clock. And Clark knows it. The timing of these comments makes them even more devastating. This wasn't after a tough loss where a few shots didn't fall. This was after getting absolutely destroyed by a Mercury team that looked like they were playing a different...
Maybe they could have caught it, but like, do we need that in this moment? Like, no. Right. And then she subbed me back in, and there's a play...
Sport. Phoenix ran actual plays, created open looks, moved with purpose. Indiana looked like they were still figuring out the rules mid-game. But here's what makes Clark's approach so brilliant. She didn't attack anyone directly. She just held up a mirror, showing what good basketball looks like compared to what Indiana's been running. She talked about Iowa's intentionality, their preparation, their execution. Every compliment for her old system was an implicit criticism of her current one. This isn't the first time Clark has hinted at these problems either.
On film.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, oh, I know, trust me. Everybody was like, we saw you about to throw that. But I think it's just like kind of a learning process. And it goes back to like even my shot thing. Like it's just time and score and understanding. I think that's like where I can still kind of improve. Like, do we really need that like sequence of a game? Like, have we just scored twice or have we just missed 2 shots in a row?
Earlier in the season, she made similar comments about players not knowing where to move. Back then, people dismissed it as rookie growing pains, the adjustment period every college star goes through. Now she's saying the same thing after a full year of professional experience. That's not adjustment issues anymore. That's a diagnosis. The Phoenix blowout was just the breaking point. Watching your team get run off the court while fundamental basketball concepts fall apart around you would test anyone's patience. But Clark's response reveals something crucial about her mindset. She's not interested in moral victories or participation trophies. She wants to win at the highest level, and she's willing to create uncomfortable conversations to make that happen. Look at the specific examples that have built this frustration. That Dallas game where both screeners rolled to the same spot, creating zero space and easy defense. The Chicago possession where players ran screens for each other instead of creating lanes, leaving Clark with no options except contested shots. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of a system that doesn't prepare players for game situations. Meanwhile, teams like Las Vegas and New York run sets that create constant advantages. Players move with purpose, screens have meaning, cuts happen at the right time. That's not accident or superior talent. That's coaching. That's preparation. That's the kind of system that maximizes players instead of wasting them. Clark's comparison to Iowa reveals the depth of the problem. college players executing complex reads while professionals stand confused speaks to something fundamentally broken in Indiana's approach. When she talks about Blooder's brainwashing, she means the kind of repetition that makes good basketball automatic. Indiana clearly hasn't reached that level. The strategic timing of going public with these criticisms shows Clark's basketball IQ extends beyond the court. Year 2 is perfect for this kind of statement. Year 1, you keep quiet and adjust. Year 3 or 4, it sounds like complaining. But year 2? That's when you have enough credibility to demand changes without looking petty. Choosing a podcast interview as the venue was equally calculated. This creates public pressure that can't be ignored. When your franchise player publicly questions the system, management has to respond. Either they fix the problems or risk losing their cornerstone to frustration and trade demands. The risks are real though. Some teammates might resent being called out, even indirectly. Locker room chemistry could suffer if players feel blamed for coaching failures. In a league as small as the WNBA, reputations stick, and Clark's walking a fine line between leadership and disruption. Fan reaction has been predictably split. Half are celebrating someone finally speaking truth about obvious problems. The other half worry about team unity and throwing teammates under the bus. But Clark's approach was surgical in its precision. She never attacked individuals, just held up examples of superior basketball. The bigger picture reveals Clark's championship mentality. She's not content being the best player on a mediocre team. She wants organizational excellence, the kind that turns talent into titles. That means making people uncomfortable when systems aren't working. What happens next will define the Fever's future. Stephanie White can take this as constructive criticism and adapt the system to maximize Clark's talents. Or she can dig in defensively and create the kind of conflict that destroys seasons. The choice seems obvious, but coaching egos have destroyed stranger situations. This Phoenix loss might become the turning point that saves Indiana's season. Sometimes you need a public wake-up call to create the urgency for real change. Clark just delivered that wake-up call in the most professional, devastating way possible. The ball's in the Fever's court now, literally and figuratively. Time to see if they're smart enough to listen to their superstar before it's too late.